Welcome back, football fans, to another episode of the Prediction Show. I am your host, Joe, and this is a Premier League special. We've got 5 games taking place on Saturday, and we're going to take a look at the data for all Premier League teams, looking at the last 10, using the tables from previous videos that you all seem to love so much. And we're going to go game by game and put a bet builder together for every single game, and let's see how that does. But first, congratulations to this user. You have won a month of Odd Alerts Pro because you commented on the last video, and the same applies for this one. All you've got to do is comment, and I'll make it easy for you because I've got a question. What is the score going to be in the Manchester City-Southampton game? No early kickoff, by the way, for this Premier League weekend because there is a game on Friday. Nottingham Forest away at Leicester, a bit of a derby. That one should be a good game. So let us know in the comments what the score will be between Man City and Southampton, and you too can win Odd Alerts Pro, which includes value betting, player props, pinnacle dropping odds, detailed player stats, alerts on live games, upcoming alerts on referees, availability alerts, which is, let me know when this game gets added to Bet365 so you can get the very best odds. Value betting alerts as well, so when your filters find a new game, the game just comes to you. In-play alerts, of course, foul player alerts. There is, just check it out. There is a lot to it. And if you've got any questions, just let me know in the comments as well. Any comment is automatically entered into a draw to win Odd Alerts Pro. Now, with that out the way, let's get into the video and into the last 10 data. So this is the last 10 data, and this page will be made public soon for pro users. Just need to spruce it up a bit. It's just not great, is it? It's just tables basically at the moment, but I want to make it filterable. I want you to be able to change the league and stuff pretty quickly. A club badge would go a long way as well, wouldn't it? And some colours. But in terms of games won across the last 10 games, Liverpool have won 9 out of 10 now and 11 out of 12 in terms of Slot and his career as Liverpool manager so far. Absolutely superb. Aston Villa also up there, and if we scroll down to draws, we can see Man United 5 of the last 10 games, including away at Fenerbahce, where Jose Mourinho did his best Arsene Wenger impression, getting sent to the stands. Fantastic to see. I do miss Jose Mourinho. 2 unbeaten teams in this collection, and it is Man City and Aston Villa, and what a job Unai Emery is doing because they played Bayern Munich in this spell of games. Brighton have lost just once in the last 10 as well, and that of course included a fantastic win at St James's Park. And we will get to Newcastle because there's some data in here that is a bit worrying for them, to be honest. Total goals 40 in the last 10 games for Wolves. That is 4 goals on average per game if your maths is not that good. And that's pretty bad because they're conceding the majority, as you'll see in a moment. For goals scored, though, Chelsea 25 in the last 10, 2.5 per game. City 24. Chelsea, it's a bit under the radar, that, isn't it? They're actually playing pretty well, and even Slot in his post-match conference after the win in Germany in the week, he said the only game that they didn't have control of this season was the Chelsea game. So fair play to Chelsea there, but fair play to Mo Salah for just turning up again, as he always does. Now, we said we'd mention Newcastle, and here they are. Sorry, Newcastle fans, but you've scored 9 goals in the last 10 games. That is not good enough. You're being outscored by Ipswich, Bournemouth, Palace, Forest. Where is Isak? Where is Wilson? Where is Anthony Gordon? Where's Barnes? These players need to step up massively. But also, in January, you need a proper attacking midfielder, I think. Someone that can connect the defensive midfield options that you've got in abundance and the attacking talent that, to be honest, if it's Barnes, Isak and Gordon as a trio, that's pretty scary as well. Because we all know if you create chances for Isak, he will score. Goals against Liverpool, 5 in the last 10. That is pretty good as well. Villa, 8. City, Arsenal and Nottingham Forest. Fair play to them. If you're watching this on Saturday, how did they do? Did they keep another clean sheet at Leicester? And for Wolves fans, 26 goals in the last 10 games. Southampton away at Man City. If you missed it before, what will the score be? Let us know in the comments, and you will be entered into a draw to win Odd Alerts Pro. I think 4-1. I'm going to go 4-1, Haaland double. Surely Haaland is everybody's captain these days. Now, in terms of over 2.5 goals, City and Spurs both with 8 of the last 10 games, Wolves with 7. But it's most of the goals being conceded by Wolves, as we'll see in a moment. In terms of over 3 goals, City with 5 of the last 10, so 50% of their games, and Southampton as well. So that could be something we look at for that game. In terms of scoring over 2 goals, Chelsea have done that in 50% of their last 10 games. Newcastle have done it in 0, as have Forest and Ipswich. In terms of scoring 4 or more, Chelsea have done it in 4 of the last 10. Chelsea are very, very capable of scoring plenty of goals, no doubt about that this season. Now, in terms of conceding 3 or more, Southampton have done that in 6 of the last 10 games. That's really not great if you're looking to stay in the Premier League, and they are now away at Manchester City. In terms of BTTS, interesting really, Wolves 8 out of 10, so Gary O'Neill really will be working on that defensive structure because scoring is not the issue. They've scored, as you can see here, in the majority of games. Same with Brentford, Leicester City 7, Fulham 7, West Ham 7, and the lowest here due to the clean sheets and draws, Manchester United, and then Liverpool as well due to the defensive structure there. In terms of fouls won, West Ham are being fouled the most, then Fulham, Traore, and then Wolves as well. Now, in terms of fouls committed, Southampton, and you imagine they're going to have to commit quite a few tactical fouls when they face City at the weekend. So I'll tell you what, let's jump to Bet365. We'll jump to the Man City game first and start to put something together there. 1.11 for Man City to win this game. 1.11 BTTS is evens. And if we just take a look at the recent results for Southampton, we know that they're conceding 2 or more. They have scored in the last 4 games. And for City at home, they have conceded in every single game this season. And when you look at who they've played, Ipswich, Brentford, Arsenal, fair enough, of course, and Fulham. That Fulham game, if Southampton can, take inspiration from anywhere, Fulham was superb. Fulham should have won that game hands down. But here we are. Man City is still unbeaten, and they've got 1 clean sheet this season. So I think for some of these plays, if we're going to be putting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bet builders together, some of them can be a little bit, a bit more risky, shall we say. So let's start with BTTS as the base. Why not? I don't think Southampton are the type of team that will go and try and just get a 0-0. Away from home, they've scored in the last 3 games. They failed to score in that Newcastle game, and they actually battered Newcastle in terms of possession in that game. Newcastle defended well, heroically, after a red card. But they've scored at Arsenal, they've scored at Brentford, they've scored at Bournemouth. 3 pretty tricky away games, to be fair. Now, if you're thinking about BTTS and win, it's not worth it. It's not worth the risk to add it at the odds that they are, 1.11. It doesn't do anything, and if it is by some freak a draw in this game, you'll be kicking yourself for adding that. So, yeah, it's not worth it when the odds are that low. Now, City to get a card is 1.72. City to get a card in the second half is 2.5. If we just look at the data here, average second halves 4 and 4, average second half cards received 2.25. City have received a second half card in every single home game so far this season, which when you think about that, the odds that are on offer here, it is quite high, isn't it? It's very high, 2.5. Now, I understand why it's that high. I'm still going to go with it. And I'm going to go with that as a single, potentially. But what you can also do is BTTS, 4.75. And, we saw, didn't we, that City have conceded in the majority of games, which is unlike them. But without Rodri, they've conceded in all games apart from that opening game at Chelsea, where Chelsea were still getting, stuff together, weren't they? It's a very interesting slip, to be honest. Can Southampton do what every other team have done and score, and City to get a card as they have in the second half in every single home game so far this season? This will be an interesting one. You can also reduce risk and just put this as City to get a card any time, 1.72. Let me know what you think about that one in the comments. Aston Villa against Bournemouth, and we saw the superb form that Aston Villa are in at the moment. At home, 0-0 against Manchester United. That was a bit of a tired game, as we've mentioned on this channel before. Very good win at Fulham. Bournemouth, away from home. It's not looking great, is it? But that victory against Arsenal will give them confidence. And even in their defeats, they still play some good football. The Leicester game, it's kind of crazy how they didn't score in that game. Liverpool and Chelsea, they're the only defeats this season. Leicester, Liverpool, Chelsea. So just 3 defeats. Just the 1 defeat for Arsenal as well. So Bournemouth to get the most cards. We saw that Villa's players are being fouled more than most on the last 10 data. Both teams to receive a card gets you to 2.25. Let's have a look at the data quickly for cards for Aston Villa. Looking at home form against away form. Yes, we are. So in terms of the card data for the Premier League, 3 or more cards in every game for Villa. Actually, 4 or more cards in every home game as well. Villa have received a card in every home game. If we look at overall form, they've received a card in every single game, as have their opponents. So I'm quite confident with Bournemouth to get the most cards. You can add both teams to receive a card, which gets this up to 2.25, and Ollie Watkins to score or assist, who was rested in the week. Duran started, Duran scored. So then, most cards Bournemouth, both teams to receive a card, yes. Ollie Watkins to score or assist. Watkins came on for Duran, it's usually the other way around, right? So I expect Watkins to start this game. 3.75. The sweet spot for me, if you've watched any of these videos, you know, evens to sort of 3s is what I look for in terms of these bet builders. Bournemouth to have the most cards, both teams to receive a card, and Watkins score or assist. Let me know what you think about that one in the comments. On to Brighton Wolves, and we can see BTTS landing in every game apart from that opening day game at Arsenal. Away from home, they've scored in every game apart from the Arsenal game, and they've scored in every game apart from the Arsenal game. So it's just a matter of keeping a clean sheet if they can. For Brighton, just 1 clean sheet at home this season, and it came against Ipswich Town in a game that they also couldn't score. Now, they might be without Danny Welbeck. He got a back injury in the previous game, so that could affect them slightly, or it could make them a bit more, energetic, a bit more fluid. They could score more goals, who knows? But they come into this with 6 points from Tottenham and Newcastle. That is a very, very good run indeed. And will they put more misery on Gary O'Neill? Over 2.5 goals is 1.57. BTTS 1.61. So you need fewer goals, but you need them to go in the right nets. Brighton to win 1.61 as well. They're not facing many shots as well, Brighton, in terms of shots against. Man City are the best, then Man United, Liverpool, Brighton and Spurs. So I'm going to go with Wolves to get a couple of cards, at least in this game. So we've got Matoma to have a shot on target, Wolves to get 1 or more cards. I'm going to go against the grain slightly, but it's still not too much risk. Under 5 goals to get us over evens. Let me know what you think about this one in the comments. I just think Wolves are in a position where they will start improving, I feel. Under 5 goals, Matoma to have a shot on target and Wolves to get a couple of cards. Against City, they were better. They defended well. But for that last minute winner for City, very unlucky. And City, I've not been impressed with City in recent weeks. In the Premier League, of course, in the Champions League, they play pretty well. But I think Premier League teams are maybe wising up to them a little bit. So let me know what you think about this one in the comments. Found it a bit tough to extract value. And this is probably why, in future videos, we can go back to what I did previously, where we could mix over 1 card for Wolves with something from another game. But for this one, I wanted to just try and do a bet builder for each individual game. Let me know in the comments which style of video you prefer. But it's a tough one to call. Brighton could easily win this game 2-0. But Wolves could also continue what they've been doing. I think they've been showing signs of improvement. I've actually been impressed with them in plenty of games this season. They've just not got the rub of the green. And they were very good defensively at times against City. They were very good on the ball against Liverpool. They've had moments and they can hurt teams. But clearly, they've got issues at the back, which they are working on improving. Brentford against Ipswich, and Brentford are actually conceding a lot of shots on target this season. More than most teams. I think there's only 1 team higher than them. And you can see there, shots on target against 7.3 per game, 5.88 per game for Ipswich. So this will be a game where Ipswich will see the recent results, they will see the data, and they will be fancying their chances because there's just not many teams that can keep clean sheets this season in the Premier League. We can see here BTTS. We saw it in the data, didn't we? BTTS in 8 of the last 10 games overall, and in 7 out of 8 in the Premier League. Liverpool away, the only game where Brentford have not scored. And this one I feel a bit more comfortable in the assumption that there will be goals. BTTS is 1.66, that's not bad. BTTS and over 2.5 goals is where I would be headed, which is evens. And we can see here as well, if you wanted to add a bit more risk to this bet, you can put in a first half goal potentially for Brentford. 0-0 in 0 games this season at half time, and 75% for Ipswich as well. So that could be something to look at. Most goals in the second half, just 13%. I will be setting an alert for this one actually. So we will go for the half and we will say first half goal 1.3. Let me know when it hits 1.8 and then I will go in and investigate. Quick jump to the player props tool. Let's search for Brentford and we find Bryan Mbeumo, and we're going to look at shots on target because, I mean, he was the person that I'm thinking about, to be honest. Last 20 games, Lewis Potter, he has been impressive, very tricky feet, keeps the ball quite well, 19 in his last 19 starts. Let's look at the last 10. We can see Liam Delap, he's a man in form, isn't he? 12 shots on target in his last 10 games, and Mbeumo, Potter, Thiago, it's showing his games from when he was actually playing, so still, in his last 10 starts, he has achieved 7 shots on target. Pinnock is an interesting one from the headers. He scored against Manchester United, didn't he? So player shots on target, and you've got to think if we're going for over 2.5 goals and BTTS, then there's going to be plenty of shots in this game. And you can see the odds are pretty terrible. Bryan Mbeumo to have a shot on target gets this up to 2.05. Lewis Potter, 2.5. What about for Ipswich? Liam Delap, 2.4. Yeah, these odds are really not that great. I'm leaning more towards the Ipswich players just because of the shots that they are facing. Brentford, Jack Clark put one over the bar last week, massive chance. Hutchinson, if he plays, is somebody I do like for a shot on target. Burns and him sort of occupy the same position at times. If Hutchinson is playing, it's going to be Hutchinson, and this gets us to 3.5, which I'm happy with. So BCTS, yes, over 2.5 goals. If Hutchinson doesn't play, and this is what I would do before the game starts, I would go with Lewis Potter, and it gets us to 2.7. So Lewis Potter or Hutchinson. If Hutchinson's playing, I'm going to go Hutchinson. And yeah, that is my selection for this game. Let me know what you think about this one in the comments. So Everton, Fulham, and I've been impressed with Fulham in recent weeks despite the defeats, of course, 2 defeats at City and then at home to Aston Villa. Away from home, they've scored in every game apart from that opening day against Manchester United. And as you can see as well, BTTS landing in the majority of games here. For Everton, they have improved. They lost the opening 4 games and they have not lost in the following 4 games. Now they have played Leicester, Palace and Ipswich in that run. They played Newcastle as well. Newcastle probably should have won that game, but they didn't. So Everton have conceded in 63% of all games so far in terms of the second half. What about second half goals in general? It's very low in terms of 0-0 percentage in the second half for Fulham. So I was going to go with BTTS, but I'm looking at Fulham to score in the second half. So Fulham to score in the second half, and if we remember from the last 10 data, they are the most fouled team, or one of the most fouled teams. So Everton to get over 1 card in this game takes us to 2.4. And corners are an interesting one. I want to go most corners Fulham, but I'm not so sure. Everton are improving. They don't really play with out-and-out wingers. O'Neill likes to cut inside. That's why I think they're not getting many corners. They had 0 corners in their game against Newcastle, their home game. And total shots, where is Traore? I'm going to go with Traore to have a shot of any kind. And then I'm also going to look at players' fouls committed. The Everton team. Let me just go away and check the recent lineups and also the player prop tool. So Ashley Young to commit a foul takes this to 4.2, which I think is really good if he plays. If he plays, of course. So we'll create a backup here. So 4.2 if Ashley Young plays. And he played the last game. And I just think, they've got some good players, Fulham. Some good players they like to break. Pereira, Traore, Smith Rowe as well, Iwobi. They're very direct side, and especially on the counter. So yeah, Young to commit a foul, 4.2. If we take Young off, my second option, and remember that Fulham are one of the most fouled teams, The second option I would go with on this list, the players that they're allowing us to select, would be Michael Keane. Michael Keane was booked in the previous game, and I think he will, come out to try and press those midfield players like Smith Rowe and commit a foul. So Keane to commit a foul, or Ashley Young if he's not starting. Young if he is starting, and then we'll fall back to Michael Keane. So, yeah, that is the final bet builder. If you want a video for Sunday's games, let me know by liking, commenting, subscribing, and we'll take a final look at the probability model. And there's building work going on behind me, so I want to apologise for this video if you can hear that. And also, I feel like I've rushed it a little bit or something. It just doesn't feel like one of the normal videos, so I apologise for that. Normal service will resume. I've also been busy with the site. I've been putting the front end together for the Bet Slip Generator 2.0, which will launch soon. So thank you for watching, and I hope you can have some success this weekend with the Premier League, and more importantly, enjoy the games, and I will see you in the next one.